Welcome back, everybody, to These Aren't the Nerds You're Looking For. Lorenzo sitting here with
Kevin Horde.
I feel like I say that the same way every week.
It's all right. Nothing wrong with that.
I think there was that one week where I just straight up said your name and it threw us both for a loop and we didn't know what to do with ourselves for about 4 seconds.
Let's do that. Let's rewind.
So it's Lorenzo here sitting with Kevin. How you doing, Kevin?
Doing well. How are you, sir?
Doing very well. We're just moving right along, catching up on Star Wars Resistance. And as of this recording now, we are caught up. I don't know when we're releasing this, actually, but, at some point. But this catches us up. We're going to be talking Season 2, Episode 8, Rendezvous Point, with an air date of November 24th, 2019. This episode was directed by Bosco Ng, written by Jennifer Corbett. Yeah.
That's very true.
Yeah. So shall I just get into the summary and then we can do our discussion of it?
Before you do, I have an update.
Yes.
Rose Tico is not from Tehar.
Yeah. I figured we knew their planets.
She is from Hayes Minor.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about Hayes Minor. So
I got nothing for you. Yeah.
So continue on.
So I'm going to go ahead and summarize this episode. Then we'll start a discussion. That said, spoiler alert for anybody who has not seen. Again, this is Season 2, Episode 8 of Star Wars Resistance. That's Rendezvous Point. You have been warned. So we start the episode off with a space battle right outside the Colossus. There are TIEs, there are Aces, the Colossus is there, and there's a Star Destroyer there. Captain Doza is definitely waiting for somebody, but the battle does not go well. And Captain Doza makes a call to have all the Aces pull in, and the Colossus jumps to hyperspace. Right as they do, a woman arrives where the Colossus just was. She is instead greeted by the Star Destroyer and a bunch of TIEs. She is pulled in by the tractor beam of the Star Destroyer. Tyranny greets the woman, takes her to the detention bay. We cut back to the Aces. They are putting down Captain Doza right in front of Tora, who becomes upset about them putting down her father. Tam and Rucklin, they cross paths with the captured pilot. Tam seems to recognize her, but can't quite pinpoint where she knows her from. We cut back to the Colossus. Neek, who notes that Doza, both the Dozas, are always leaving Caslon on that very same date, and they have done so for the 6 prior years. Kaz notices that these trips coincide with around when Leia formed the Resistance. We cut back to the Star Destroyer. We learn that the captured pilot is Tora's mother. We learn this on the Colossus. It is Vanessa. We get a scene with Yeager and Kaz telling some backstory on how Vanessa got Captain Doza to defect from the Empire. We cut over now to the Star Destroyer, and Tam is visiting Vanessa. Vanessa's droid from the X-Wing was playing dead for a hot second, and a couple of stormtroopers throw out this droid. We learn that the droid's name is Torch. While Vanessa is talking to Tam, Torch zaps Tam, knocking her unconscious. Cutting back to the Colossus, we learn that today is Tora's birthday, and that's why they were continuing trying to meet this woman on that specific day. Yeah, poor Tora. This is a revelation to Kaz, by the way, who did not know it was Tora's birthday. We cut back to Vanessa, who has Tam hostage at this point. Rucklin finds them. Vanessa and Tam get away from Rucklin. Alarms start blaring, however. Torch, meanwhile, starts blowing some stuff up. Vanessa stuns Tam and then flies away in the X-Wing. So both Torch and Vanessa get away from the Star Destroyer. Cutting back to the Colossus, the Aces celebrate Tora's birthday with a Gorg cake. The Gorg, however, escapes the cake.
It's more of like a Gorg Jello.
Yeah, it's a gelatin thing, but they call it a cake, which I found interesting. So
that's right. The Brits would call it a pudding, so whatever.
Yeah, it's a Jello. It's a giant Jello structure. We cut over to Captain Doza in his office. He watches a recording of him and Vanessa having just a very regular conversation about her running off to join the Resistance. Tor joins her father, and together they have a sweet, touching little moment. and continue watching the recording or something. Cue loud music. Or sorry, cue fanfare.
Cue fanfare.
Yeah. That seems like a very straightforward summarization, actually.
Yeah.
I'm sure our discussion will go along here, but yeah.
I often take some notes as you're giving your summary.
Mm-hmm.
And somewhere along the line, I was interested in what you were saying. You had me captivated, and I stopped taking notes. So
yeah,
we'll see how this goes.
Real quickly, we do have credits for Vanessa Doza is Tazia Valenza, and we have another interesting voice acting credit, which goes to Bo Keeval and Stormtrooper number 3 of One Day Filoni.
Yep.
We have.
That is one of the notes that I had jotted down. Did you catch it?
Not during the episode.
Okay.
Not at all.
I can tell you who it is.
Notice.
We'll get to that later.
Yeah, but Bo Keeval apparently has spoken before in one of the shorts and stuff. But has he ever? I don't recall.
Yeah, he's had lines. He's had lines
Okay.
a couple of times, and it's been Dave Filoni the whole time. He was
right.
Even in season 1, it was Dave Filoni.
Cool. Yeah. I'm sure I've mentioned this before, and I've just completely forgotten about it.
It's just like his voice is modulated and like warbled, so
completely.
It's not just like the Dave Filoni voice.
Yeah, that
the Stormtrooper, however, is.
No, I did not catch the Stormtrooper voice whatsoever.
We will come to that.
So, what do you think? What do you make of? We get another Resistance has been interesting where we have an opening scene that is mildly disconnected to the rest of the episode, or we kind of there are certain episodes that sort of there are certain episodes that will start with a problem or they will state the problem. This one we start in the problem, I guess. Right?
Yeah, I really did like that this episode started like mid-battle.
Yes.
I feel like Resistance has kind of fallen into a rut. Like, usually my first note is Colossus in space, because that's what we see.
Right.
It's not even like establishing shot. It's just like Colossus in space, and then we cut into whatever's going on. This one, there's a different thing. I don't know if it's like a space station, or it kind of reminded me of like the medic stations, like the space hospitals from the Clone Wars. And then there's like a battle going on. We don't know anything about this. We never come back to it at all. It's never mentioned. And so like I'm curious to know what that is, but I did really enjoy that it wasn't, when this episode started, like I'm expecting to write Colossus in space, and I was like, ooh, other station in space. Fighting. Nice. Mid-battle. And then
it's enough of a change up for sure.
Yeah, it was a little tweak that worked well.
I like starting this way because it kind of puts us more into a mystery of what is happening, right? Like it at least opens up my curiosity rather than like last week where it's just like them standing on the bridge and Captain Doza is like, go get supplies. I'm like, okay, they're gonna go get supplies.
Yeah, whereas they could have been like they could have either already been on planet, or they could have been like en route to planet, right?
Right.
Like
now that you say that would have been so much more interesting.
Like already on the ship, and Kaz like, what the F are you guys doing here? You know, like you're gonna get my balls busted again. And these little kids are sneaky. They've been sneaking around a long time.
Yeah, now that you bring that up, we're not reviewing last week's episode, but yeah, there is a big contrast in just even getting us involved in the episode as a viewer, right?
Yeah,
and I agree. And there's a decent mystery that does last for at least the first act here, where we cut to Doza and he's like, "No, she's coming. We got to just hold out for a little bit longer." And even Yeager's like, "What are you talking about? Like,
dude,
why are we here?"
At this point, who it was?
Yeah,
did you?
Yeah, no, I did not.
I thought to myself, I was like, the first time I was watching this, I'm like sitting in my garage watching this on my phone or something, and Yeager's like freaking out, like, dude, she's gonna be here. She's gonna be here. Like, we can't leave. She's gonna be here. And Kaz is like, we can't leave until Doza says we can leave. Like, everybody just do their best. Mm-hmm. And Yeager's like, dude, Doza, like, we can't any longer. And then Tora calls in. She's like, Dad, like, we can't just wait for her. I was like, it's her mom. Like,
yeah, totally pretty much as soon as she showed up, I was like, yeah, I see it. But I think just like during that whole exchange, I was like, I'll see where this is going. I'll let it be.
I was like, it's totally, is it? Oh, it totally is. It's going to be. Because I remember talking about early season 1, like, where did Tora's mom go? You know, is she still around? Like, did she go to the Resistance? Was she killed? You know, we found out that Doza was a member of the Empire back in the day. You know, he was like an officer.
Because usually in Disney properties, it's like the dads that are dead.
Right. Or both parents.
Both parents are usually
the
dead,
moms don't have names.
Right. There's a lot of dead parents in Star Wars properties, or in Disney properties. So, yeah. But I really dug this opening, and I like, I mean, it's very convenient that the mom happens to show up like immediately as soon as the Colossus jumps away.
Man, it was like seconds, not even
fairly
seconds. It was like microseconds.
Yeah, like it was fairly instantaneous.
There was 2 hyperspace jumps that happened simultaneously.
Right. It was like
one was going and one was coming.
Right.
And they could have occupied the same space.
Right. It's basically the edited version of what happens to Greedo.
Yeah, or
minus McClunky.
Or like Scooby-Doo.
Right.
When Shaggy like runs in one door and Scooby runs out another door.
Pretty much. I do like the characterization of Vanessa. Mm-hmm. She's very sassy, right? She's got a lot of attitude, and her banter with her droid is very friendly. Like I like the sort of friendly banter that like the connection people will make with their specific droids, right? Luke has it with R2-D2, Poe and BB-8 have it. Kaz and CB are forming that relationship, like they've gotten it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would call her just like a no nonsense, like go getter. You know,
right?
She's she's task oriented. We're gonna build her resume here. She's task oriented. I would not necessarily say that she exhibits qualities of working well with a team, like in this example. But I think that she probably does because she is part of the Resistance. Along the line, we do find out that she is the reason for Doza leaving the Empire, which is kind of interesting because I feel like he would have like a mark on his back for that, you know?
Right.
I don't feel like the Empire is very forgiving, and then for him to be kind of openly associating with the First Order, you know, back in season 1, that kind of
like they would know him.
Smells, right? Yeah, that smells a little fishy to me.
Yeah. Also, this is like the longest goddamn payoff from that suit that we saw back in season 1.
Okay, so like, I have a note about the suit. Like, is it a payoff, or is it like? So why does he keep it?
Or I wouldn't call it a payoff. Like let's just say a conclusion to the setup of the reveal of a suit.
Yeah, I totally get what you mean by calling it a payoff. Like, it's the answer to the question of why does he have it?
Right. So, which still, to your point, doesn't answer why does he still have it.
Right. Why does he keep it?
Yeah, why does he fucking keep it? I have no idea.
Does it remind him of... Here's what I'm getting. A, maybe it reminds him of his wife. Okay. And B, maybe the presence of that reminds him of why he can't be complacent with the First Order.
I think it's something like that. If I were to try and attribute, again, no evidence for this from the show whatsoever. But I that would be my line of thinking as to why he keeps this. It's like, as a former fat person, like I might keep some like baggier clothes around to be like, that's what I used to be.
Right. I thought it was for your Notorious B.I.G. cosplay.
That as well. And also for the fact that at any moment I could just also become that person again.
Hey, fair enough.
You know,
I like pizza.
Yeah, pizza's very good. Believe me. But yeah, I don't. And why does he just keep it like in his like main office closet too?
I think
that's why I don't understand.
Yeah, up until this point, I don't think it was odd that his uniform was in his closet in his office. Now that we know his history, it seems a little odd.
Yeah, it's just weird. It's weird.
There was definitely some nefarious undertones back then when we found out, like, oh, Doza's got his Imperial officer uniform still.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on with him?
Past.
Is he in leash with the First Order? Like, what's up? You know, is there something deeper here? This kind of contradicts that, I feel like.
Yeah. Like, it's just weird that the show kept setting up interesting little tidbits like that. Like, it's a weird show that like wanted to have these cliffhanger endings, like, ooh, like we found this out, and then it never addresses it. And actually, like, the show proves to us that Captain Doza is like a really good guy.
Yeah, he's not just some a-hole up in the high tower.
Right. Like, he's a legitimately like really cool character, but there was always this open puzzle piece out there of that suit, you know.
And it's almost like they didn't know where they were going to go with Doza, because in the beginning he was set up as like this authoritative, you know, dictatorial.
He was literally in a high tower too. Like,
literally in a high tower, only looking out for himself, doesn't care about anybody else. But and some of that came directly from Aunt Z, right? And she had like these theories about, oh, he's working with the First Order, and he's just gonna piss out his high tower into all of our soup canisters. And later, like, they have an interaction together, and he's like, Aunt Z, you know me, like, I'm here to do what's best for everyone in the platform, and you're all my responsibility. And she's like, yeah, I know that, but you need to show it, because I can't run a bar if I don't have any booze.
Right. Like,
it is kind of like a 180 from the initial setup of Doza.
Right.
And this really just solidifies that 180.
Yep, definitely. And I don't understand that.
What's your take on this whole like definitive? It's been 6 years, and like Niku's like, oh, on this date for the past 6 years they've been leaving. Niku would have known. I feel like question: has Niku been there more than 6 years?
I don't know.
I think Aunt Z has.
Yeah. I don't know about Niku.
Yeager has for sure.
Yeager has. I think in this case, if not, it's one of those like he just found it in the records sort of thing.
Okay.
But, right. I
feel like in the records he could probably find that Mrs. Doza didn't die. She left, unless the records were like faked or something.
Well, I don't understand about...
It would probably also have Tam's fucking birthday.
Right.
Like, Doza could just be like, we're going on the yearly Tora birthday Doza trip.
Right. Like, how about this coincidence? They always leave, and it's always on Tora's birthday.
Right, because they're going to celebrate her birthday. Like,
right. Like, you know, because Castellan only has so much to do. My other question then is, if the reason they're in trouble is at the beginning of the episode, and it gets explained later, is that Captain Doza like sends out a beacon so that Vanessa can find them, but it also leads the First Order to find them.
Yes, correct.
Why was that necessary?
Why was the First Order being there necessary?
No, why? Okay.
Why was the beacon necessary?
Yes, I get that it's a tradition for Tora and Captain Doza and Vanessa to all be together on Tora's birthday, but given the circumstances, maybe we give it a pass this year, right?
Well, I think that history would tell us that Tora and Emmanuel Doza leave the Colossus to
But that's
meet
what
up. They don't
that's what I'm
bring
saying.
her back to the Colossus.
But that's what I'm saying. That why is that necessary this year? You know what I'm saying? Like, they're in trouble, so maybe we give it a pause this year from.
And what I'm saying is they wouldn't even have to give it a pause. Like, if they just followed history, they would get on a ship, they would leave the fucking Colossus, they would go somewhere to meet her. They wouldn't bring her to the Colossus.
Right. I just think maybe
the reason that it happens is for plot convenience of
right, of course, of meeting Vanessa.
The other question is, how is the First Order tracking the Colossus so quickly, even if they are putting out a beacon? Because it's not like they just have a giant neon sign that is like Colossus here, come First Order. Like, I would assume that they're sending some type of encrypted message to her directly in the Resistance, not in the First Order. The First Order's got something going on with tracking abilities, not quite to the level of what's going on in
there's no
The
hyperspace
Last Jedi.
tracking, right?
Not yet.
But there is
There's something.
I will also call that plot convenience tracking.
Mm-hmm.
But I think to your other point of like, why didn't they just leave the Colossus for this excursion? I think same question applies. Like, they're all in trouble. Like, this is not a time for Captain to disappear for a day.
Yeah, but I can get, like, you've got this family thing that you want to, you know, as a father, you want to still be able to, like, uphold that thing for your kid.
No, we're into like okay, I do not mean to equate the level of severity between what's going on in Star Wars versus a real historical awful moment in human history, but this is essentially a life is beautiful situation.
Okay.
Which is in itself, as an adult looking back at that movie, ridiculous. But like, the Colossus is in somewhat fairly mortal danger.
They're only in mortal danger because of the result of the actions. Like, they weren't in mortal danger.
No. But like, we had like 4 episodes in a row of like supply runs, fuel runs, food shortages, right?
Okay. Yeah, I'm seeing your point, and couple that with the fact that the Relic Raiders just found these. Like, the Relic Raiders are dead, right? The Raider troopers or the Relic troopers or whatever. So they probably somebody probably noticed that they're gone. So maybe the First Order was on their way anyway. So maybe all that is moot.
So like, your family isn't on an RV. You guys are homeless, essentially. You guys are out of food. You got $5 left to go buy supplies. Yes. And then the next week, because it's your daughter's birthday, you
absolutely
still
Yep.
leave
Yep.
the RV with 10 other people who are still starving. You have no money. It's straight up.
It's kind of unfortunate for those 10 other people, but yes, I do believe that in that situation, like desperation, and that's where they are right now, right? They're desperate. Desperate times call for desperate measures. So I think that for Doza to want to have this thing happen for Tora, I think it's more of a father pride thing than anything else, because Tora's even the one that's like, Dad, we can't wait for her. We can't do this. we're putting everybody in jeopardy. Not going to happen. And he's like, yeah, you're right. And that's when they all crash land back on the Colossus because apparently nobody can just fucking land one of their ships. I guess this is just to show that like coming in hot, but it's always like a Tokyo drift, like landing.
They always got Tokyo drift that shit in, man.
Like up to the camera, and then that's when they jump to hyperspace, right? But I think that's what it is, you know. And it may
I'll
be
give it the
you may be
slightest
looking at
pass,
it differently
but
because you don't have kids, but
I don't have kids.
Like you'll do. There are certain things where you'll do anything possible for them, even if sometimes it might be a little irrational. I'll just put it that way.
Again, this is where like my Life is Beautiful comparison comes in, where it's like you take away the stakes of the Holocaust when you try to bumble and joke your way through Auschwitz.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, that's where, like, as an adult, look, like, that movie came out when I was 11.
Right.
Right. So when I was a kid, I was like, why, yes, this is, like, a lovely, like, moving portrayal of, like, a father trying to protect his son from the Holocaust. And then as an adult, I'm like, no, that feels wrong. And again, this is why I gave that big warning. I do not want to equate these two events.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway.
You knew what I was going to say. Okay.
But what I'm trying to say is, like, there are stakes here for the Star Wars universe. Not Holocaust stakes. Not at all. I am not trying to equate those two things at all. But
I would more equate this to Pa Kent, like, giving Clark Kent the, like, don't do it, son, and, like, openly accepting being just getting dead by a tornado, right? Because
what?
Because, like, he's gonna do something that's irrational. Like, that's what Pa Kent did, is, like, let himself die for Clark Kent to keep his secret.
No,
because Clark could have swooped in, saved Pa Kent, and saved the rest of the people that were getting swooped up in that storm.
No, this is more. No. Okay, so, like, this is where, like, my RV comparison was trying to go to. Like, it's more like, say, Great Depression era. You know, you don't got any food.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're talking Grapes of Wrath. Like, you're moments away from, like, sucking on a woman's titties for milk because that's how hungry you are, sort of situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which clearly, for obvious reasons, did not make it into the movie. But you still, like let's also add the layer that you're like Bonnie and fucking Clyde, I guess, right? And then for some reason you try to go to Chuck E. Cheese while being like America's Most Wanted because you want to provide that for your daughter, like one day at Chuck E. Cheese. So you just stroll in.
No, you're just trying to meet up with somebody in an alleyway. You're not going to Chuck E. Cheese.
By going on a bullhorn and saying, yo, we're here.
Bullhorn. It shouldn't be something that the First Order would have known about anyway.
No, but based on the information we get in the rest of the episode, he sends out a regular beacon. That's the information we get.
That's poor planning.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
This is exactly what I'm getting at.
Fair enough.
Why? This is like the basis of this episode. Again, based on everything we know about how careful Captain Doza and Yeager usually are, for him to just essentially put out a bullhorn call saying, bro, we're waiting here at this corner of blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're on the corner of 45th and 5th.
Right.
Come meet us. And the cops are like, again, you're wanted by the police, and NYPD are like, oh,
okay.
Oh, I guess we're gonna go arrest this guy, right? Like,
I guess I didn't realize that it was just like an open beacon, because you would definitely you would definitely think that there was a more privatized form of communication.
At all, right?
Attempted, at least, right? That being said, the MacGuffin of this episode, I think, is what's her name? Vanessa? I want to call her Vanessa.
I think it's like Vanessa. I could be wrong.
Right.
Even
no,
though
I
we
think
hear
that's
her
right.
name a few times. Vanessa, yeah.
Let's talk about the Vanessa character.
Yes.
And then we're going to get into her droid, and then we're going to get back to Dave Filoni.
Okay, right.
That's how this process is going to go.
Go for it, sir.
All right. Vanessa is an operative for the Resistance. What do you think that she did before this? Do you think that she was a rebel way back in the day? Because Yeager is old enough to have been a rebel, like before the New
fought
Republic.
On Jakku, right? That's what the info we have.
Yes.
He fought on Endor and Jakku, or just Jakku?
I think just Jakku. He was at the Battle of Jakku, and that's like where his wife and daughter died? Question mark?
Right. There's like that photo of
sometime
them on
around there,
Jakku or something like that. Yeah.
Because his brother is Hot Rod Kid. Space.
Marcus Speedstar or
there
whatever.
You go.
I don't know how I pulled that one out, but Marcus Speedstar.
Yep.
But yes, I would make the guess that yes, she was
guess
some sort of rebel pilot.
I guess she would have to be, because she was a pilot when Doza met her. I guess he was on vacation from Imperial duties, and she was on leave from Rebel duties, and they met up at a space cantina. Or
my guess is
on
it's
a
going to be
camping trip or something.
No. My guess is whatever happened in this episode to Tam, she pulled the same trick on Captain Doza, except they fell in love.
Weird.
So
she's been captured like multiple times, and then she's just trying to like mind fuck people, like mind break people, like one person at a time.
She's reverse mind breaking people, yeah. So,
okay,
that would be my guess as to how they would have met. Would have been some. She was probably arrested by Doza or something like that, or maybe vice versa, you know. And then they Beauty and the Beast their way out or something like that, right?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense up until Doza leaves the Empire, but then
right, of course, yeah,
just runs a fueling station and works with the First Order later.
And nobody minds his past
cares.
of defecting from the Empire. Yeah.
He's a literal closeted Empire officer.
But he's not, because unless he changed his name, like Doza would have to be in like public First Order records.
You would think.
Of Empire shit, right? Yeah, you would think. But anyways, I agree there are weird puzzle pieces that do not fit.
Some of this is a bit idiosyncratic. But Vanessa is part of the rebellion. I feel like she's good acquaintances with Leia, right?
I don't know. I don't know if we have evidence for that.
Okay. I thought we did. I thought that she talked about Leia from like a personal point of view.
Did she? She might have, and I might have already forgotten that.
I don't know. I'll need to give this one a review. But
the main mention of Leia that I'm aware of is Kaz is the one that, because there's a moment that I kind of glanced over in my quick summarization where
I get you.
Kaz finds out that Tora and or the Toras, the mother, the Dozas, yeah.
Yep.
That wife mother is in the Resistance. So then he's like, oh, they work for the Resistance too then. So then that's when he kicks in. He's like, why didn't you guys tell me? Because I work for the Resistance. I need to remind you, like, I was given orders by Leia, right? That's the one memory of Leia being mentioned that I for sure have here.
Okay. Yep. I think you're right. That being said, I do like the little moment after that where Yeager takes him aside and he's like, hey, shut the fuck up.
Right.
Like,
He's being a bad spy again.
Like, dude, everybody knows you're with the Resistance. It's fine. But, like, just because you have a thought doesn't mean you just, like, bust into somebody's office and start fucking yelling. Like, we're not even talking about that. You don't even know what's going on. So the next time you have an idea, why don't you bring it to me? I'll be your filter. And then I'll let you know whether or not it's a good idea. And by the way, keep your mouth zipped about Doza's wife being in the Resistance. And Kaz is like, dude, why didn't you tell me? He's like, the same reason I don't tell everyone else about you. Like, let's
and
think
it's very
about
logical.
this, Kaz.
Yeah. Like, I like that moment from Yeager. Like, I really wish Yeager got a lot more to do in this season besides just standing around and helping Doza.
He has not been doing much.
He's not doing anything.
But based on Doza's actions at the beginning of this episode, as you kind of explained, bullhorning his way into compromise, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe Yeager's sole kind of function is to keep that bullhorn out of his mouth, right? So
otherwise
he's got to
get in trouble like this.
He's got to check Doza so that Doza doesn't do something like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
To get back to Vanessa, she was in the Resistance, or she was in the
Rebels.
Rebellion.
Yep.
She somehow convinced Doza to leave the Empire. Do you think that she left the Rebellion at that point? Because I don't think she did. I think she's a fighter, right? So the only way, this seems kind of odd then, because she's like, hey, you're on the wrong side. You guys shouldn't be fighting. And Doza's like, you're right. I love you. I'm going to leave the Empire. Leaves the Empire. And he's like, where are we going to bed down? And she's like, nah, man, I'm going to keep fighting.
Right.
Keep fighting. I got a real Biden situation here. Like, you want to stop abuse? Just punch it and punch it and punch it.
It's just, well, it sounds like, I mean, they settled down for a period at least, right?
15 years ago, yes.
Right.
16 years ago.
So they settled down, and then Leia's call for the Resistance is so large that she needs to get back out there. She needs to
so I guess
get back on that saddle.
Do you know when the Battle of Jakku was?
Not off the top of my head. Because I'm not going to lie, even the last Star Wars book I've read, which I finished not too long ago because I'm hopping all over the place. So, yes, I know I'm behind on this shit, but I read Claudia Gray's Bloodline.
Mm-hmm.
And that, spoiler alert for that book as well, leads up briefly to the formation of the Resistance. And that, I do think, takes place about 5-6 years prior to the events of Force Awakens and Last Jedi. So I think the timeline sounds about right there.
Okay.
So I think it is Leia's call that pulls people in, right? It's...
Yeah.
Because, like, we get a little bit of that in Last Jedi where they're like, well, like, people will listen to you, Leia. Like, you're, there's a spark that will... Whatever that really long line was that I can't remember off the top of my head right now. It's the spark that will lead to the flames of the Resistance or something like that, right? It's the spark that will light the flame.
That's Rose's line, right?
Hers, I think, was like, we'll win this by the cheesy one. It's like, we'll win this with love, not fighting what we hate.
I thought she talked about the spark too.
Maybe. But I remember Poe mentioning it more so, but yeah. So this is the back history I have filled based on pretty much literally nothing except what we've gotten out of this episode.
Okay.
But knowing what we know, because Leia kind of puts out a call to like some of the pilots she knew about, so she starts like with her closest confidants and stuff. Potentially, again, we have no evidence for this, but potentially Vanessa's on that list.
Okay.
And that is probably what pulls her in. Because like the video recording at the end, number one, why does this video recording exist? And
my thought was, why does all the gray look the same in Doza's mustache and hair?
for 6 years to have passed.
Right, especially for a dude that is potentially like stressed out, hiding on a fucking gas station.
I'm gonna again chalk this up to they did not want to draw another character design.
Yeah, but you can just recolor some. I mean, you don't have to redraw. You don't have to redesign the entire thing. But they're recoloring it anyway because it's a fucking hologram.
It's
Lorenzo.
that blue hologram thing.
just fucking recolor part of it. Anyway,
hey man, there's very limited time to click these various shading
just
quadrants and whatever.
Punch it.
These pixels, right?
Okay,
because
real quick,
yeah.
like,
Yes.
Battle of Jakku 5 ABY.
Okay.
Okay, we are in 34 ABY now.
Mm-hmm.
6 years prior to that would be 28 ABY. So there's a good 20 years that
gap.
the Dozas could have been having a flourishing relationship. So
Right.
good for them.
Yes.
That would put Tora's birth about 18 ABY.
Mm-hmm.
So they had 9-ish years of loving family things, where they all lived on the Colossus, because the Colossus hasn't moved in.
Have they been on
30
Castellan that long?
I think
guess.
so. Like,
I guess
hasn't
that makes
Doza
sense.
been there for like 30 years?
I don't recall off the top of my head.
I thought so.
That's
Anyway.
possible. That sounds like a thing.
So then Vanessa gets like the call to arms again.
Mm-hmm.
That
But
20
aren't they like 50, mid 50s, 60s at this point?
could be, but I think, I mean, Leia's the same age.
Yeah, but
She's-
she's not like actively in like flying. She's directing and leading and such, but she's not.
Well, fucking Akbar's older than she is. And
He's also
still
on
like
the bridge though.
I know,
They're
but
just, like,
still.
they're on the bridge, but they're not like flying the X-wings.
Eh,
You know,
maybe you're not giving her enough credit, man.
I guess.
Vanessa.
I mean, good for her, I guess.
Sometimes when you're a pilot, you're a pilot,
This is basically the plot of Top Gun Maverick, by the way.
I mean, Han Solo fucking hyperspace jumps into a planet's atmosphere
That's true. But yeah, that's different than
with a crew of what, 2 people
right.
to take on the entire First Order
I guess
to do the infiltration necessary to bring everybody else in. So
See,
there are
so-
certain people that have that drive and desire and determination to do what needs to be done.
I guess. Again, based off of our conversation from the last episode of me needing genre films, I now need a Star Wars version of Top Gun Maverick. That is not something I ever thought I needed, including a whatever equivalent of the volleyball scene would be.
I have not seen it yet.
You've not seen the original Top Gun?
Oh, I thought you were talking.
Well, because there's
you
a
said
trailer.
Top Gun Maverick.
What's
I
that?
haven't seen the trailer. There's a
Oh,
trailer.
I was
for
gonna
the
say.
new one?
Yeah, there's a trailer for the new
Haven't
one
seen
that
it.
dropped at Comic-Con.
Nah.
Because I was in the room and like Tom Cruise showed up and like that was the big surprise of the Thursday. Tom Cruise just fucking showed up and was like, by the way, there's a trailer for Top Gun Maverick, and we're like, what? Because the event was literally listed as Terminator Dark Fate, and then at the end of the Terminator Dark Fate,
Tom Cruise came out.
Tom Cruise walks out. Or actually, Conan O'Brien walked out and was like, because people were starting to get up and like the room was emptying already, and Conan was like, sit back down.
Man, he's got to be about 1.5 feet taller than Tom Cruise.
Basically, he was a beast over Tom Cruise. But yeah, it was. Anyways, yeah, the trailer basically just establishes that Tom Cruise is still flying around, even though he's old as fucking shit for doing that.
Yeah, as Star Wars does not follow Earth physics, right? Nor does it follow like the trajectory of Earth military peoples. right?
It's, more ragtaggy, right? As at least the Resistance and Rebels.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
So, and also the people that are going to continually fight this fight against the man or, the galactic evil, they're going to be the people that will be front line when they need to be. And, like, if that's the position that they're good at, that's where they're going to be. Because that's what needs to be done. And you do in situations like that, man, you do what needs to be done. And that's what, makes them honorable, right? But anyway, back to 28 ABY. This is when Leia resigns from the Galactic Senate because a political rival of hers...
Spoiler alert, yeah. For those who have not read Bloodline.
I was going to say, does a thing, and so she...
ruins her political career, basically.
Yeah,
So, essentially. In effect, yeah.
So she basically decides at that point, there's some political sabotage. She decides not to be a political figure because that's not working out. It's not the thing that she thought it was going to be. And that's when she sets up the Resistance and moves on from there. Right?
Yes,
so that's what... that's the time frame. I guess Kaz knows this, which is kind of weird.
Again, we don't know how old Kaz is. That's a separate issue that we will not answer here.
I think he's like 28, which would make him like 20 when that happened. But anyway, known to the New Republic, I assume that this has been going on since Leia left the Senate. All of these different cogs in this clock are moving forward, and that I guess pushes us forward to this point in time where Doza's trying to meet up with his wife and do the right thing for his daughter, and that puts everybody else in peril, and then she gets caught by the First Order and just kind of willingly gives herself over. I thought it was interesting that they didn't just blow up the fucking X-Wing. They're like, nope, tractor beam.
Yeah.
I feel like for everybody else, they would have just shot her down. Right. We do get a scene of a whole bunch of ties like flying around, and the aces. There's like the whole like dogfights, space dogfights or whatever. I expected one of these to be Tam, and there's no. You don't know. There's no revelation. You don't know who any of them are.
They're all faceless.
Right?
They're all faceless ties.
Right. We do see Tam later. She meets Miss Doza.
So okay. So just jumping ahead to that, do you feel Vanessa had any effect on Tam? Like
yes.
we get the inklings of it, right?
Yes, because at the end during the escape. And real quick, I'm going to bring up Dave Filoni.
Mm-hmm.
So the ploy is for what's his name? The droid, Torch to play dead.
Mm-hmm.
This is basically the same thing as the Thor Loki send help thing, right? So Torch plays dead. There's two troopers, and one of them's like, man, I didn't even know they made these old units again. Like, grabs one of his appendages and gets shocked. That's Dave Filoni. And then Dave Filoni takes the droid and throws it in the trash. That sets everything else in gear where it's a droid that breaks her out of prison in a fucking Star Destroyer. Okay.
Yeah,
anyway.
Yeah.
Moving forward, Tam is caught. We get to the end of the episode, and along the way... Vanessa has been like just fucking
like chipping away at hers, I think is how I would describe that, right?
Yeah.
Like Vanessa just keeps bringing back up, and I like how like Vanessa, number one, how does Vanessa know this is Tam? Because she brings up her name first, and Tam has that question as well.
I think Tam's been on the Colossus for at least 6 years.
So Vanessa just knows about her.
Mm-hmm.
And
because
like,
she
probably
does,
seen hollows and stuff of her.
Well, she does bring up, and she's like, hey, Yeager loves you like a daughter.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
He lost his daughter.
Mm-hmm.
You became like a daughter to him. So shame on you for doing this to him. So they know each other, and as Tam didn't know shit about Emmanuel Doza, she probably didn't know much about Doza's wife, right? Vanessa, but it's been shown that Yeager and Doza have continued a relationship throughout the years, which would also mean that Vanessa would be included in that,
she's privy to this information, even if she's not there all the time.
Well, and she was back then.
Right.
So she would know who Tam was by virtue of that.
She's getting filled in. Yeah.
And Tam had seen this lady probably on the platform,
but it
didn't know exactly who she was,
right.
but recognized her.
Yeah.
She knew who Tam was through the connection of Doza and Yeager. Okay.
Yep.
So we can just kind of backtrack all of that around. But the point is that at the end of this episode, when Vanessa escapes, and it's kind of a cheesy escape, but hey, it's fine. I like Torch in a TIE fighter more than I like BB-8 in a headless AT-ST, to be honest. And it's a clever setup where Torch runs around, drops all these, puts all these thermal detonators out, and then steals a TIE and creates a diversion. He leaves the hangar, gets shot down, ejects before that happens. The TIE blows up. He hits this button, and all the bombs go off. Tierney sees it right beforehand. She kind of dives for cover, and then this gives Vanessa time to take off. And when that happens, Tam, is like, wait, no. So there's a split second where she either wants to go with Vanessa or wishes that she was with Vanessa, because Vanessa knocked her out. She stunned her. And Vanessa was like, hey, do me a favor, when you wake up, get the fuck out of the hangar.
Yeah.
And she's like, what do you mean? Done. Dropped her. And I think there is definitely a moment where Tam wants to be part of that. Maybe doesn't necessarily want to leave the First Order, but I think Tam would be okay with having been captured and taken to the Colossus, because she could always, if she wanted to go back to the First Order, she could claim capture.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think she's turned her to the point of being an informant for the Colossus. Right. But the seeds are there. The seeds have been planted.
Okay, I agree with you for sure on all that, in terms of the seeds being planted. I, however, still just am really annoyed with Tam at this point. We've had a few Tamless episodes for sure. Probably since Live Fire was the major.
Yeah, I think
last time we saw them.
That sounds about right. It's been a while.
So there's been 4 episodes in between. But
she's in full DT-533 mode.
Right.
She's like, my name's not Tam, it's DT-533.
And it's just such a weird turn for her, and I get what they're trying to do, but based off of Live Fire and her conflict, and just jumping from Live Fire to this especially, where Vanessa kind of explains how the First Order's main drive and directive is to strip away their personalities and their individuality, and by virtue that she gets a number and stuff. After Live Fire, I felt like Tam kind of saw that for herself, right? She was punished for saving Rucklin, right? And she saw that as wrong. And then in this episode, we just get the 180 where she's like, no, I'm DT-533.
Well, I think in those episodes that we haven't seen her, she has the indoctrination has continued,
right?
And she says stuff like, because Vanessa straight up asks her, like, why are you here? And she says, well, I want to bring peace to the galaxy. And she's like, no. That's what the First Order says. Like, that's the bullshit line that they're feeding
personally here for?
Why are you actually here? And then she says to Vanessa, Tam says, they're helping me achieve my dream. And Vanessa says, like, oh, really? Like, what is that exactly?
Right.
And
but
Tam was like, I don't know.
My point, though, is, okay, there's still indoctrination that's happening in terms of storytelling. Like, that doesn't fly with me. We haven't seen it. We haven't touched base on it. We go from, oh, shucks, why am I not squad leader, to, fuck you, I'm First Order.
I think it's implied, or maybe it's not implied. I think it's one of those things that's, like, understood.
Like, we're inferring from a lot of outside information, and that's fine to some degree, but I think in terms of storytelling, like, we still got, after 5 weeks, about here, right? Like,
now, is there anything about that in season 1 that would say that this is what's going to happen if you join the First Order in season 2?
I mean, again, it's
like those
even
conversations that Yeager had about the old Empire, and you know what I mean?
I get it. It's just, in terms of storytelling, like, I would still have liked more development on that. Like, okay. Yes, I get that is what's happening. That's fine.
Sure.
But my point is,
you would like to see...
That's not good storytelling, though.
You would like the story to be filled in instead of that just leap happen.
Right.
Okay.
Like, cool, I got it. First Order's bad, but you telling me that the First Order is bad, like, and I'm talking to, like, the storytellers, right? Mm-hmm. Not you personally, but like you can tell me they're bad, but that's different than, like, me seeing Tam going through the process of indoctrination and training and getting berated more than just once in, like, 5 episodes ago.
Right. Or, like, what I'm saying? What broke her? Like, because we saw she kind of has, like, an old family pride of, like, what her grandfather did for the Empire.
Right.
And I think that in the beginning she saw that as what she would be doing. They're offering her the world. They're offering her the chance to be a pilot, which is all she ever wanted. And she feels rejected by Yeager because this fucking Kaz guy came in, and took everything that she ever wanted, and feels abandoned by Yeager. And then the First Order comes along, and the smooth-talking Tierney gives her this opportunity and says, hey, I can give you those things. Like, I will respect you. And
that's cool in season 1. Like, that works for season 1. But, like, now that we're here, like, that this throughput hasn't been throughput.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you that the last time we saw her, she was like, that shit wasn't working out. Mm-hmm. Like, I think maybe in Live Fire, if it was working out that way, then this would be less of a leap here. But the fact that shit wasn't going the way that she expected it to go with the First Order, you are 100% correct in saying, like, it's a pretty big jump from where she was to where she is.
Yeah, like, if she became squad leader in that last episode with her in Live Fire, like, if everything worked out, yes, then I would be complaining a lot less here, even with this gap. But
here's another possibility. Is that she's not fully indoctrinated. Like, when she's saying my name is DT533, like, that's the answer that she's supposed to give.
Like, she's going through the motions. And
she doesn't know anything about this. Like, she's trying to get information out of this prisoner, not give information, because, like, this...
I'll accept that to some degree until she becomes a hostage and still, like, is putting on, like, that First Order face.
Okay. Yeah, right? I think it's kind of a combination of all of the previous. But yeah.
I understand what you're saying though. Like that does make some degree of sense.
I honestly think we might be thinking about this more than we might be putting more thought into this than was put into it.
Oh, for sure. As we tend to do.
And that is not an insult to anybody that worked on this show.
No, it's just that you and I definitely like our thing is definitely just way overanalyzing shit.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't think we're getting any more answers on Tam for sure this episode. I will say though, I'm glad after again 4 episodes we're finally touching back on this Tam storyline.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're 8 episodes into the season, you know. It's almost halfway, man. And yeah, my concern about this show is that this is it. This is season 2 is it. I do moving forward like the touching moment of finally celebrating a birthday. Is this the first birthday celebration we've seen in anything Star Wars related?
I'm inclined to say no.
Right.
But
it's not, I mean...
nothing sticks out to me. When I saw it in this episode...
culturally speaking, have we seen
we don't see too many celebrations in general, aside from, like, victories of war right?
Yeah.
And
Yub-nubs.
When I got to the end of this episode... Like, the whole inclusion of, like, birthday in this thing feels a little too earthly to me.
I don't disagree, yeah.
I think that it would have been... like, if it was just the anniversary of when her mother left, that would have been good enough for me. But that it's her birthday...
I'm not gonna lie. That's what I thought that day was. I thought they were going towards some anniversary, not her birthday as well.
Kaz, it's my birthday, and nobody else fucking knew?
That's what threw me off as well, that she literally never told anybody for 6 years running at the least. Right? She kept disappearing on this day, and nobody asked why.
I can understand that Nico wouldn't put 2 and 2 together.
Right.
But
he's too
everybody else, I don't know.
Right. He's too fucking... I don't know. Yeah, beyond that line of thinking. But I do also kind of like this open thread that Vanessa blasts off. Or I don't know if it's an open thread, but I kind of like that this episode doesn't get quite a neat ending where it looks like... So Tora tries to sneak out to go find her mom. Like, she wants to light speed back to the same location. Which is a very bad idea because, like, when they last left, there was a full fucking Star Destroyer there, and she's planning on going in just one little ace ship.
I loved Kaz's comment because she's like, "Don't try to stop me," and he was like, "Oh no, I'm not going to try to stop you. Bad ideas are kind of my thing."
Right? Yeah, like unplanned bad ideas. I'm there, and he's like all in, and I like that moment too, but I kind of like that they don't actually go through with it, and then
it is kind of weird that she's just like, "Oh, I don't know." Like, it just kind of cuts to another scene after he says that.
Yeah, there's no close on that scene. They don't go, and therefore at the end of the episode, it's just Captain Doza and Tora just hanging out on their own, right?
Watching the
just
holo.
Watching the holo, the holo vid. So that's kind of like the one interesting, like, not tidied thing here that, like, under normal circumstances, I would kind of say, like, that's really weird that they didn't neatly tie it up. But based on, like, the fact that there's no way either of them know where the other party is, and that in the what I will call A plot of Vanessa, just trying to escape that Star Destroyer, that she just blasts off, that arc gets closed off satisfyingly, and then essentially what is the B plot of the Colossus trying to figure out, like, there is no... The B plot is whether or not Tora's gonna... It's just more information dump. Yeah, it's just more information dump.
It just gets, like, reset, because they're not...
There's no active
progress
plot for
was
them.
made, but
Yeah.
no, nothing fell by the wayside either. They're back to where they started.
Right. So I kind of dig this as a television format goes. This feels a lot more comfortable to me to
Yeah, I
keep
agree.
this open. So
It's not like tune in next week to see what happens with Vanessa Doza.
right. Like, well, they get out of this one. We'll
It's
see you
just
next
kind of
week.
like they're, she went back to the thing that she was doing,
Right.
and Tora has grown, I think, beyond. I don't know. Like, I see a little bit of growth in Tora in this episode because she's honestly handling this situation more maturely than her father is.
Oh yeah, definitely. Again, one of them lit off a fucking open beacon that led the First Order to them. Which, yeah, it's...
And one of them almost snuck off by themselves back into the lion's den.
But didn't. You know.
Probably because... Maybe it's because Kaz was like, yeah, dude, I'll go. And she was like, yeah.
Like, if Kaz is going,
okay with going? This is
that's
probably a terrible idea.
Yeah, exactly. It's a fucking stupid idea. But yeah, anyways, is there anything else you want to discuss about this episode? We've definitely kind of...
The only other
looped
thing I
around this
have
one a
is
lot.
Rucklin, and I can totally save that until the next time we see Rucklin.
Who does nothing and is nothing. And
I called him Draco Baggins in this episode. He's just kind of like a pretentious douchebag. And I don't think that he's buying into the First Order at all. I think he's just playing along so that he can fucking... it's like he probably joined the First Order so that he wasn't stuck on Castellan and stuck on the
Right.
Colossus getting attacked by the First Order. Like, he's a path of least resistance type of dude.
Yeah.
And he's going to play by the rules so long as it benefits him.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand.
And he's
that.
going to do what he can to kind of stay under the radar.
Yeah. So, yeah.
It's like
a nonsense character.
he's a do it needs to be done, but in like the opposite way of the way that I like it.
Uh-huh.
If that makes sense.
As long as it kind of like saves his skin, then he's cool. Like,
Absolutely.
so, yeah. Anyways, do you have information on next week's episode? Usually we call it the title, but I didn't even look that up. So, and I don't have that up. So, and then
Why don't you run through our social medias and whatnot? And
we haven't given this an official rating yet, by the way.
oh shit! How about this?
Don't jump that far ahead yet.
I give this one a thumbs up.
All right. It's so close. I still don't like this episode, though.
What?
It's very close. It's very, very close. Okay, here's
Are
what
you
I'll say.
officially thumbs down on this?
Is thumbs down. I will officially say thumbs down. And it is...
What is it gonna take for you?
Okay, this episode finally does get back on track. It gets back on track to what I need the show to be. And to me, every episode between Live Fire and this episode have been pointless, have been super unnecessary. This finally gets us back towards decent arc stuff. But in thinking about it, there are no takeaways for me from this episode. I definitely was more invested in this episode than anything from Hunt on Seltzer 3 up to Relic Raiders. I have definitely been more invested in this. Vanessa is a much more interesting character to me than the engineer whose name I've forgotten and the rest of Flix's family and lady from last episode that I don't fucking care about and clearly did not show up in this episode, right?
Right.
I just still... Yes, there is movement. There is progression on this episode. I agree with that. I think there is movement on that. However, still wasn't very excited by this episode. I wasn't...
I feel like if this was episode 3 of this season, you would have been all for it.
You're on. Yep, that's exactly where it is.
But the fact that it's episode 8,
The show has lost. Yeah, it's just that the show has lost so much momentum for me.
And this is the beginning of the momentum build, but it's not there yet.
Yeah, like I'm still like dead inside to this show right now, you know. But this episode has sparked it. But it's again, this episode is close. I really was mostly down for this episode. It just at the end of this episode, I still didn't quite feel anything.
So you call the Relic Raiders soulless?
Yes.
What would you call this one?
I will say that this is
because I'm going to steal something you just said a little bit ago, and I'm going to call this one invested. Like, this one does seem to be invested in the story of season 2. And I agree with you 100% that this is beginning to get us back on track to where we kind of expected things to start at the beginning of this season. And hopefully this is that climb on the roller coaster.
Right.
And we're about to go over the edge.
So, yeah, I'm just hoping.
We've talked about a lot of hope this season.
Right. That's where I'm kind of going back and forth. Like, the two words I can think of, and if you can think of one word that encapsulates this, is like,
sure.
There's a hopeful progression. Here, right? Like I swear I'll be so pissed off if next week this thread isn't followed through. I agree with you. Like, if this was episode 3, I would be so excited that we got this reveal of Vanessa and we got to know a lot more about Captain Doza's past.
Right.
I would still be confused about what that means because there are some big old things that do not add up regarding that. I think it's stuff like that, too, that kind of put a bad taste in my mouth, right? And it's not even through our discussion. It was just like, even while I was watching it, I'm like, wait a second. Like, hold up. Like, and it was the fact that he, like, lit the speak in that.
Right.
So he made, like, this really stupid decision. And as we discussed at the beginning of the episode, I was so down for this opening. Like, holy shit, how did we get here? And then I found out he just, like, lit a beacon that pulled the First Order in. And it's just like, dude, what? This is how we're starting this episode? Like,
there's a couple minor improvements that, or minor changes that I think could alter your opinion. Like, if the First Order was really just using tracking technology, that would eliminate like the incompetencies of Doza over a situation of a family reunion that may, for some people, be important enough to kind of risk your well-being and kind of everybody's well-being, and for some not, right? Because the technology has been introduced in the Star Wars universe, and whether or not I liked it in that aspect when it happened, it's already happened. So you can just use maybe not the exact same thing, but something similar, you know, because it's literally happening at this time in a different area against the Resistance.
Absolutely.
So that's one thing. Altering the timeline a little bit of season 2, I'm thinking for you, it would be like Into the Unknown, Live Fire, and then this episode, right? Yeah. Rendezvous Point. And some of the
those
other
three
stuff
would
has
be a
been
very
a little
good
bit
season.
Superfluous.
Yes, quite.
And I totally understand that. Now, you said hopeful progression, and that is what I'm going to write down for now, and I'm going to see if we can like whittle that down into one term. If we can't. It happens. We'll just hyphenate it.
Right. Like, I don't know. Like, because like hopeful on its own, like that's not how I'm feeling after this episode. Right.
Right.
It's only because like I'm holding out hope, but based on the fact that we're on episode 8 and just my current optimism levels of this show are very low, right?
So, Would it be optimistic?
No, I'm not optimistic. This episode is not optimistic to me, and I'm not This episode still doesn't leave me fully optimistic. That's the problem. Again, there is so much bad will that this show has built up on me that I honestly, like, I don't know what the next week's episode is titled. We did not get that.
Do you want to know?
Yeah, please.
It is called the Vox Vortex 5000.
Yeah, see, I don't think next week's episode is going to follow this thread at all.
Yeah.
See, like, this dude, I mean, come on. Like, oh, it's no, just no. Like, no. Yeah. So, it's, yeah, like, sad progression is what we got here, so.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that's what I got for this week.
I don't think I have anything else to add.
Yeah. So, as always,
dropping that revelation of
yeah
next week's title.
So, if you want to comment and point out how much of a negative Nancy Debbie Downer I am on this show, notthenerds.com is a place to find out all of our various places you can do that. We're on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, all that. Give us a review and subscribe and rate us, please. As always, we want to give our thanks to Lindsay at Strange Fancy Music at gmail.com. Contact her if you want her to help you out with your own musical needs. She put together our jingle at the beginning and end of every episode. Kevin at They Call Me K-Dub on Twitter. He drew together our cover art. And Blue the Beard on Twitter. He put together the website, notthenerds.com, for us. But until next week, what was the name of the episode again?
The Vox Vortex 5000.
This arc is not ever going to finish or conclude on Star Wars Resistance episode.
I feel like it's going to be a race. But I feel like shenanigans will ensue, something will be diverted, and we're not going to actually race.
I got nothing. I have nothing else. So until then, I've been Lorenzo.
Kevin Horde here.
These aren't the nerds you're looking for.
Bye-bye.